when I was invited for this session, I had a lot of ideas to. I won't read it because I can't use it. So actually, I had a lot of ideas, and then this happened, and I realized that maybe I don't need half an hour to tell you that you definitely need to teach your kids to use both hands at an early stage. Just try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. It's a nightmare. But most seriously, I'm very grateful for being here today and talking about this very important, essential subject, because I believe we don't necessarily have perfect answers, but we definitely need to open some discussions on these subjects. If you can please go ahead. And my first question would be, what does the post-COVID world look like? And we actually don't really know. I wish we knew the future. But what we know is, this next slide, what we know is that when we have more conflicts.
Is it possible to just speak a bit more to the right? Yes.
We will have more conflicts, we will have more pandemics, and definitely more issues with the climate. And we will live in a world that is more and more disruptive. Bad disruption, but also, please next slide, a lot of beautiful disruptions and acceleration. Just in technology, we can see that the last 20 years, the last 50 years, we had tremendous acceleration in innovation, and this is exciting because this will help us deal and embrace any kind of disruptions. So, next slide, please. Yes. So, there is a bad news and a good news. So, by 2025, around 149 million new jobs will need to be filled just in technology. And we're not talking about environmental work and jobs. I'm not talking about health. And the good news is that there is an amazing generation of learners, young ones, who were born with technology, who were born in the digital era. And we will have to help or be with this generation so they can embrace this acceleration in a disruptive world. And we also have new types of learners, us, older people, because we are lifelong learners as well. And we will need to upskill and reskill constantly to be able to reach this number. So what we did the 200 past years, we created, and universities created 200 million graduates in 200 years. And we can see that it's not enough. We don't have 200 years. We will need these jobs in 2025. And this model, this old model, was created and based on a curriculum. It was based on teachers in front of an audience, teaching the same thing to the same people at the same time. Learners didn't have any choices in that process. And it was deeply disconnected with real life, and this is something I will talk more about later. It's a graded learning, so you would learn to pass a test and not really learn because you're interested or because you would need that in your life. And obviously the tests are standardized, so let's ask the question, who is making the tests? And it's expensive. So we have a full generation of learners who were born with a phone in their hands but don't necessarily have access to education. And this is a problem. And obviously the old model of the old classroom between four walls, everybody is sitting on a chair and a table looks familiar, I do that now. So this model has to be disrupted. Please, next slide. So instead of building for the past, we need to start building for the future. Even if the future is unknown, we need to work on different things. And we need to remember, because we tend to forget that education is not the same thing as schooling. So, psychologist and scholar Dr. Peter Gray, and I really encourage you to read this amazing book that he wrote called Free to Learn, said that education is the sum of everything a person learns that enables that person to live a satisfying and meaningful life. So if you try to remember what you learned at school, what participated in you being happy today? That's a question. That's one of the questions I will be asking today. So please, go ahead. So, as I said, I'm not here to give you clear answers. I'm here to present some ideas that I believe will participate in creating this new culture of teaching and learning. These ideas are all connected because they are built on they are fundamentally built on inclusivity, sustainability, and empathy. And these things are even more important today in the digital era when we talk about learning and teaching. So the first thing is about redefining the learner-educator relationship. So I was talking about the classroom and when the teacher is delivering knowledge, and I believe this has to be disrupted. I will give you an example of this disconnection, and I will also talk about a personal thing that happened to me when I was a kid. So when I didn't have school during the holidays, for example, my parents didn't have a nanny, so they had to take me with them to the work. And that was the most interesting time I had. Everything I learned when I did that, this is something I didn't learn at school. So my mom was a physiotherapist, and she used to go to people's houses. And she would take me with her, and we had these long drives to reach very remote places. So I had the chance to have long discussions with my mom. I don't know if parents here have time today to have these long discussions with their kids. It's very interesting. I try to have that as much as possible. So I could know my mom more and more. And also, I had the chance to meet all these people she was caring. And I could observe, and I could see what a difficult work it was. It's not all about messages. You have a lot of physical work when you are a physiotherapist. You meet people in very difficult situations, kids who cannot move, old people who are lonely, and she was there for them, and she was taking all in. And I could feel that. I could empathize with her, I could empathize with these people. And I realized at a very young age that I didn't want that in my life. I didn't want to be a physiotherapist, but I knew why. It's not because I read on a book about, what physiotherapy is and, with these nice drawings. No, I got to experience the hard work. And this is not something that I wanted to do, and this is not something I learned at school. So this experience I had with my mom was more of a mentor, was more of a apprenticeship kind of approach to learning. I learned a lot. And I wish this is something we could do more. And I encourage parents, educators, companies to break or to bridge this gap between education and schooling and real life. Unfortunately, we tend to forget as well that learning is life. And this is not something we learn at school, and this is definitely something that we need to have more and more, especially that we will live longer and we will have to learn more and more things faster and faster. And for that we need people. We don't need necessarily only books or content. So what do we do to give to this new generation of learners the habits or the love for constant learning? I believe that we should give them more flexibility, and we should rethink the relationship between space and time. And we also, after COVID, that blended and hybrid learning models are working if they are done well. And for that, I invite all my fellow education technologists to think about that, to make this relationship better between people and this relationship between space and time. So when you can break these borders between, home, work, school, you get more freedom, you get to learn everywhere and at any time. And it's not only about offline, online. This is, we all talk about it, this is not only about that. It's about giving this flexibility, this freedom to really be able to learn wherever you are and at any time. And then we have the what's called soft skills. I hate this term, and I hope you all hate it as well. These are human skills, they are super important. And I believe that when we give more flexibility, when we can learn anywhere, when we can meet mentors and people that will make a difference in our life, we will learn these skills. So again, when I was going with my mom in these long road trips to see their patients, I learned about a lot of these things. I didn't learn them at school or in a traditional teaching or learning environment. So I put some of them here, but I guess this is also something we need to focus on. How can we together create new models of learning where we put these skills at the forefront? We will all at some point know how to count and how to read, and we have techniques for that. But this needs more time, more commitment, and it needs to change its name, definitely not soft skills anymore. And then I do believe as well that we need to encourage self-directed learning. So the easy definition of self-directed is that the learner has the ability to choose what, when, and where is learning, but it goes beyond that. It asks the question of identity, of power, of what you want for your life, what do people impose on you and why you are doing this thing. It's asks the question. So it asks the question about who can control and who has the power on your own choices and your own actions, your own thoughts, your own body. And so self-directed learning has a lot of benefits, like you gain autonomy, it's a more equitable and inclusive model, it adds meaning to what you learn, you can do that anywhere, anytime as well. And there's something very important is about trust. So this is also something that we tend to forget in a traditional education model or traditional schooling, is that we don't trust the people who are learning. And I guess this is one of the most important things we should do. We should trust our learners, even if they are very young. They always have something very important to bring to the table. And again, when we review or redefine the relationship between the learner and the educator in an equal level, we can bring more trust. And when we bring trust, you're not relying anymore on a curriculum or on a third party. or it's the fault of the curriculum, or it's the fault of the time, or it's the fault of principal of the school, I don't know, but when you bring back trust, you bring back accountability, and you bring results. And again, it's connected to life experiences, and this has no price. So, how can we together create a more inclusive and empathetic environment for learners and educators? Yes. So, I guess you realize that everything I was talking about was about putting humans at the center. And it's even more important today, after COVID, we realized how human-human interactions are important. We were all apart from family, we were not anymore in our traditional classroom. For some people it was very frustrating, for other people it was an opportunity to find solutions to make this happen. So how can we do that? First of all, we need to trust the natural ability of humans to learn and grow. We have to allow space for exploration. We have to reconnect life and learning. And we have to exchange on a deeper level than just knowledge transactions. And obviously, because we are in the digital era, we need to build meaningful and accessible technologies. And we need to, as technologists and as education technologists, we need to think of what can I do to bring people together in a meaningful way. And I will continue on that idea of digital. If you can change the slide, please. So there is a new role today for education technology. So I didn't really introduce myself actually, so I'm Emilie and I created Octopi.ai. Our mission is to really democratize the technology tools for educators and learners. We want to make these tools accessible, affordable, and easy to use for all the learning and teaching communities, independently of their background, of their budget, the language. We really want to work on the technology, and this is something that is a challenge for education technologists, is to build a technology that is human-centered. And what does that mean, human-centered? It means that you definitely need to bring access, so access to mentors, access to people that can make a difference in your life. You need to build a technology that will allow you to explore, that will give you the space, the autonomy to explore, to fail, to try again, to personalize. And obviously a technology that will help you bring back trust and accountability. Thank you. If you have any question, we have a stand outside and we are happy to talk, or I think we have 10 minutes as well.